Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are stripping away the hype and looking at a single pivotal week in the history of artificial intelligence.
Yeah, a really specific one.
We are focusing exclusively on the week of January 4th through January 11th, 2026. And I have to say, looking at the stack of research you've brought today, if you think you know where AI is heading, these 7 days might actually change your mind.
It really was a watershed moment. We often talk about AI in phases, the research phase, the chatbot phase. But this specific week, looking at the source material, it feels like the official start of the agentic shift.
The agentic shift, it sounds a bit like a spy thriller, but what does that actually mean in practical terms?
In practical terms, we're talking about the move from just chatting with an AI to an AI actually doing things.
Doing things? Like what?
Specifically spending our money and doing physical labor.
Oh, okay.
That's the core of it. We're moving from tell me about this product to go buy this product, negotiate the shipping, and handle the receipt. And the numbers backing this are they're staggering.
Okay.
In Sundar Pichai's keynote at the National Retail Federation NRF SUE, he dropped a metric that honestly made me do a double take. In December 2025, Google processed 90 trillion tokens on its APIs.
90 trillion? I'm trying to even visualize that. That seems impossibly high for just people typing into a chat box.
That's the point. It can't just be people. It represents an 11x increase year over year.
11 times.
To put that in perspective, that volume is just too high to be humans chatting. It suggests systems are talking to systems. It's the hum of the machine starting to run the economy.
And that is exactly where we need to start. We have a lot to get through, from robots entering factories to your TV reinventing how you watch sports, but we have to start with the money.
Right.
This week, Google launched something called the Universal Commerce Protocol, or UCP. Now, usually protocols are the boring part of tech news, and you flag this as the most important announcement of the week. Why?
Because it solves the end-by-end bottleneck.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a massive legacy problem in retail that is basically frozen innovation for the last decade.
Okay, let's unpack this end-by-end bottleneck. What is actually blocking the transaction right now? Why can't I just tell my current AI to go buy me a pair of shoes?
Think about the landscape. You have thousands of retailers, Walmart, Etsy, Target, the local flower shop.
Sure.
They all have their own custom back-end systems for inventory, for pricing, for checkout. They all speak their own internal languages.
So Walmart doesn't talk to Target. Got it.
Exactly. Then on the other side, you have all these new AI agents popping up, Gemini, maybe a specialized travel agent bot, a personal shopper bot.
Right.
If every single AI agent needs to build a custom connection to every single retailer just to check if a shirt is in stock or to process a credit card, you have an impossible number of connections to build. That is the end-by-end nightmare.
It's a translation problem. It's like the bot speaks one language, Walmart speaks another, and Target speaks a third. And nobody has the time to write a dictionary for everyone.
Exactly. So enter the Universal Commerce Protocol. UCP is an open source standard. And what's fascinating is the coalition behind it. This wasn't just Google handing down a mandate.
Who was involved?
It was co-developed by Google, Shopify, Etsy, Wayfair, Target, and Walmart.
That is a very strange dinner party. You have direct competitors sitting at the same table, agreeing on how to sell things. Usually these guys are trying to crush each other.
Oh, and that tells you how big the threat or, the opportunity is. They realized that if they didn't agree on a standard language, a universal translator for commerce, the agentic future just doesn't happen.
Or one company builds a walled garden.
Exactly. Or worse, one company builds a walled garden that locks everyone else out. So UCP defines what they call functional primitives.
Functional primitives, that sounds incredibly abstract. Break that down for us.
It's basically developer speak for standard verbs. Think of them like Lego bricks for shopping actions. Instead of every retailer having a different complex code for buy this, everyone agrees on a standard action. For example, dev.ucp.shop.checkout or apply discount. If an AI agent speaks UCP, it can talk to Walmart just as easily as it talks to a tiny Shopify store.
So it creates a common vocabulary. But here's the part I struggle with. How does the AI know what a store actually sells? I mean, does the AI have to download Walmart's entire catalog every morning? Because that seems incredibly inefficient.
No, and this is the clever technical part. It uses what's called the server selects model for dynamic discovery. The agent just queries a standardized location on the business's server, specifically well-known of.
Yeah, so it just knocks on the door and asks for the menu.
Essentially, yeah. And the business replies with a JSON manifest. It basically says, hi, I sell flowers, I accept Visa, I offer these specific discounts, and here's my checkout process. It happens instantly.
Okay, but retail isn't always simple. Buying a book is easy. Buying a custom sofa where I need to pick the fabric, the legs, and schedule a delivery window. That's messy. Can a standard protocol handle that messiness?
It can. The sources mention an extensions framework for exactly this reason. It allows businesses to add those unique features like, loyalty points or in-store pickup without breaking the standard language. It's flexible.
Now, I have to play devil's advocate here. If I unleash an AI agent to buy me sneakers and it accidentally buys 500 pairs because of a bug, or it buys from a scam site who is on the hook, me, Google, the sneaker shop.
This is where the legal framework is just as interesting as the code. The sources really emphasize that the retailer stays the merchant of record.
The merchant of record.
And this is the safety rail. The retailer handles the tax, the fraud detection, and the returns. The AI is just the pipe. It doesn't become the seller.
So the liability doesn't shift. That's a crucial distinction.
Absolutely. And to prevent that rogue AI scenario you mentioned, UCP integrates with the Agent Payments Protocol, or AP2.
We saw that acronym in the notes, AP2.
Right. It uses cryptographic tokens and signatures. It basically creates a verifiable chain of custody, proving that a human actually authorized the purchase. It turns a chat command into a legally verifiable digital handshake.
So we are moving toward a verification economy, which is a theme I want to come back to. But let's pivot from how we buy things to where we live. Because while the retail giants were meeting in New York, CES was happening in Las Vegas.
Yep.
And Google was busy moving Gemini directly into the living room.
This is the shift to what they call ambient intelligence. It's no longer just on your phone. It's in the environment around you. The big update here is the overhaul of Google TV.
They introduced a feature literally called deep dives, which, I feel we should sue for trademark infringement, but I suppose we'll let it slide for now. What do their deep dives actually do?
Well, it's a new way to consume information on the biggest screen in your house. Instead of just searching for a topic, Gemini creates a narrated interactive overview. It pulls in images, videos, and it explains complex topics right there on the TV.
So it's moving the TV from a passive watch this movie device to an active knowledge hub.
That's the idea.
That's a significant behavior change. Usually when I'm in front of the TV, my brain is off. They want to turn it back on.
They do. And they're using some specific generative models to make it visually engaging. And I had to mention the name because it was in the developer blog, and it's surprisingly whimsical. It's called Nano Banana.
Nano Banana. Please tell me that's the actual internal code name.
It is, and it's stuck. It's an image generation model, formerly known as Gemini 2.5 Flash Image.
I definitely prefer Nano Banana.
Me too. And alongside Nano Banana, they integrated VO, which is their video generation model. The idea is you can remix your own photos or create cinematic screensavers, slideshows right on the TV. It's about personalization.
Okay.
But the feature that I think will actually change how people use their TVs and probably save a lot of marriages is the natural language settings.
Oh, is this the fix it for me feature?
That's the one. We've all been there. The dialogue is too quiet, the explosions are too loud, or the picture just looks weirdly soap opera-ish.
And digging through the settings is a nightmare.
Right. Most people don't know what 10 kilohertz means. Now, you just say to the remote, the dialogue is lost, or the screen is too dim.
And Gemini translates that vague complaint into specific technical adjustments.
Exactly. It adjusts the equalizer or brightness automatically. It's launching first on TCL devices with Android TV OS 14. It just removes the friction of understanding the tech.
Speaking of removing friction, we have to talk about Gmail. The Gemini era of Gmail hitting 3 billion users this week.
Yeah.
This isn't just a new coat of paint, is it? It seems like a fundamental shift.
It really is. They introduced a new AI inbox tab. It's not just sorting spam anymore. It highlights suggested to-dos and topics to catch up on. It's trying to be a project manager for your life.
The AI overviews feature stood out to me. The idea that you can ask it, who was the plumber who gave me a quote 3 months ago?
And instead of giving you a list of 20 emails with the word plumber, it synthesizes the answer. Bob from Bob's Plumbing quoted you $500 on October 12th. That is a fundamental change in retrieval.
You're not searching for documents anymore.
You're searching for answers.
Which is great until it hallucinates a quote that never happened. But we'll get to accuracy in a minute. I want to touch on the hardware side of CES. Google used the Sphere, that giant glowing orb in Vegas, to demo Android XR.
Yeah, this is their spatial computing play. And what stood out to me was the strategy. They aren't trying to build the one headset to rule them all.
Right, they are splitting the market.
They announced a lead hardware partner strategy. On the high end, you have Samsung with Project Muhan. That's your immersive Apple Vision Pro competitor.
Okay.
But then they have XREAL with Project Aura for lightweight smart glasses.
It's the Android strategy all over again. Google builds the OS, and they let the hardware partners specialize in the form factor.
They want to be the operating system for reality, whether that's fully virtual or just, augmented glasses.
Okay, so we've covered commerce, we've covered the living room. Now we need to talk about the physical world. Real robots. Because the partnership announced this week between Google DeepMind and Boston Dynamics, this feels like the moment sci-fi becomes a documentary.
It really changes the trajectory of robotics. For years, Boston Dynamics was famous for hardware athleticism.
The backflipping dog.
Backflipping dogs, the parkour robots. They mastered the body. But the criticism was always, can it do anything useful without a human piloting it?
Right.
This week, they announced they are putting Gemini Robotics AI Foundation models, the brains, into the Atlas humanoid robot.
So DeepMind provides the brain, Boston Dynamics provides the body.
And the goal is semantic intelligence. It's the difference between a robot knowing how to pick up a box and understanding why it needs to pick up that specific box and where it belongs in the inventory system.
They put a date on this, and honestly, it made me a little skeptical. They are aiming for deployment in Hyundai factories by 2028.
Yeah.
That is 2 years away. In the auto industry, it usually takes 5 years just to redesign a cup holder. Is 2028 realistic, or is this just PR?
It is incredibly aggressive, I agree, but I think it highlights the urgency. The CNBC analysis from this week really nailed the geopolitical angle here.
What's the angle?
They noted that the U.S. edge right now is the intelligence layer, the software, the training, the simulation. China's edge is manufacturing and hardware.
So this partnership is the U.S. trying to cement that intelligence lead before the hardware becomes a commodity.
That's the play. If the robot body becomes cheap, which it will, the value is entirely in the brain. Google wants to own the brain before the bodies become ubiquitous.
So we have AI agents buying things, AI managing our emails, AI driving robots. The big question, the elephant in the room that we touched on with Gmail is trust. How do we know this stuff works? How do we know it's not hallucinating a discount that doesn't exist or telling a robot to put a windshield in the trunk?
This brings us to the under the hood segment. Google DeepMind released a paper this week about Simple QA Verified, and it addresses what some call the vibes problem.
The vibes problem.
Right now, we often evaluate AI based on vibes. Oh, this chat felt smart, or it wrote a funny poem. That's not science.
Right.
So DeepMind released a benchmark of 1,000 adversarial questions. These are high-precision factual questions designed to trick the model.
Like trick questions on a standardized test.
Even harder. They focus on common misconceptions or very specific dates that models usually smudge.
And how did Gemini do?
Gemini 3 Pro hit a score of 72.1%.
72%. I have to be honest, if my accountant was 72% accurate, I'd fire him. That sounds low, like a C-.
In the world of adversarial factuality, that is actually state-of-the-art. It just shows how hard it is to get an AI to be 100% factually accurate when you are actively trying to trip it up.
Okay, that's fair.
But more importantly, they introduced a metric called facts grounding.
Grounding is key. That's checking if the AI actually cites its sources, right?
Exactly. It measures if the AI is hallucinating information or if it is pulling directly from the provided text. If you are a business using Gemini to read contracts, you don't care about poetry. You care about grounding. You need to know that the summary actually reflects the document.
On the infrastructure side, for the developers listening, Google released a guide on debugging JAX on cloud TPUs. I know this is deep in the weeds, but why should the average person care about debugging chips?
Because as models get bigger, keeping them running is incredibly expensive and complex. They released tools like lib2 for verbose logging and TPU info, which is basically a dashboard to see where your chips are doing.
Sure.
The more transparent the infrastructure, the cheaper and more reliable these services become for everyone else.
Speaking of trust in hardware, there was one last partnership that caught my eye, the Auto ISOC.
The Automotive Information Sharing and Analysis Center. Yeah, Google Cloud joined it this week.
Why does Google need to be involved in car security?
Because cars are becoming data centers on wheels. Software-defined vehicles are the future. If a car is running on code, it can be hacked. So Google is bringing Mandiant Threat Intelligence, which is their high-end security arm, into the auto industry.
And they announced something called Snapdragon VSoC, a virtual
What? A digital twin of the car chip. They are working with Qualcomm to let developers test car software in the cloud on a virtual chip before the physical chip is even manufactured,
So you can crash test the software before you build the car.
which speeds up development, but crucially, it lets them security test these systems much, much earlier.
So let's zoom out. We have gone from the UCP standardizing commerce to robots in factories to digital twins of car chips. What is the through line here? What connects all this?
The through line is standardization and verification. If you look at UCP, it's about verifying a purchase. If you look at the DeepMind partnership, it's about verifying physical movement. If you look at simple QA, it's about verifying facts.
So we are leaving the Wild West phase of AI and entering the infrastructure phase.
That's the perfect way to put it. We are building the roads and the traffic lights.
Yeah.
The agentic shift isn't just about AI being smart. It's about AI being reliable enough to integrate into the boring, critical parts of our economy. Supply chains, payments, factory floors.
Which brings us to our closing thought. We talked about the verification economy. If UCP works, an AI can verify your identity, negotiate a price, and execute a purchase with cryptographic proof. It removes the friction of the transaction completely.
It treats a friction-free economy, yes.
But I have to ask you, and the listener, if an AI agent handles all your shopping, if it knows exactly what you need and buys it for you, what happens to the joy of discovery?
That is the big question. Do we browse anymore? Or does the deep dive feature on Google TV replace browsing entirely? If the algorithm is perfect, serendipity might die.
A world without serendipity, but with perfect efficiency. That is something to mull over. That's it for this deep dive into the week Google turned AI into agents. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.